The lights were blinding. The crowd was screaming. And somewhere behind that perfect smile, something was already breaking. Before the headlines, before the public meltdowns, and before the world turned her pain into entertainment, there was just a little girl from a quiet town in Louisiana. A girl who didn't dream of fame the way the world imagined, but somehow became one of the most recognized faces on the planet. Britney Spears wasn't just a pop star. She was a phenomenon, a voice, a symbol. A cultural shift that defined an entire generation. But behind the music, behind the performances, and behind the carefully crafted image, there was a life she wasn't fully in control of. People saw the success, the awards, the iconic moments. But what they didn't see was the pressure building long before the spotlight ever hit her. So how does a small-town girl become a global icon and then lose control of her own story? To understand what really happened to Britney Spears, we have to go back, before the fame, before the media, before everything. Back to Kentwood, Louisiana. Britney Spears. The town was small, quiet. The kind of place where everyone knew your name and your secrets. Kentwood. Louisiana wasn't where you'd expect a global icon to come from, with just over 2,000 people and limited opportunities. It was a place where most families lived paycheck to paycheck, trying to hold things together the best they could. And for Britney Spears, holding things together was something her family struggled with long before she could even understand what was happening. Her parents, Jamie Spears and Lynn Spears, built their life in that small town, but behind closed doors. Their marriage was already fragile. There were rumors, arguments, and nights filled with tension that didn't stay hidden for long in a town like Kentwood. Jamie's drinking became more than just a habit. It became a problem that shaped the atmosphere inside their home. And for a child, you don't need to understand everything to feel when something is wrong. Britney grew up surrounded by raised voices, instability, and moments that no child should have to witness. There were nights when fear replaced comfort, when the home didn't feel like a safe place anymore, and when things became too overwhelming, she would run to the one place that felt different. Her Aunt Sandra's house. That was where things felt calm, where she could breathe, where she could just be a child, even if only for a little while. But back at home, another path was already being built for her. Her mother saw something early, a spark, a voice, a presence that felt bigger than the small town they lived in. And instead of waiting, she acted. Dance lessons, voice training, gymnastics, talent shows, competitions, one after another. What started as encouragement slowly became structure, and that structure quickly became pressure. By the time most kids were just learning how to play, Britney was learning how to perform. She wasn't just busy, she was constantly moving. Church choirs, local TV appearances, beauty pageants, state-level competitions. Every stage became another step forward, every performance, another expectation to meet. And all of it came at a cost. Money was tight, sometimes painfully tight. There were moments when the fridge was empty, when providing for the family became uncertain. Yet somehow, the resources were always found to keep Britney moving forward. Lessons, travel, training. Because at some point, this wasn't just about talent anymore, it was about hope. A way out, maybe even survival. But when a child becomes the center of a family's future, something begins to shift. The line between support and dependence starts to blur. And without realizing it, Britney Spears wasn't just growing up. She was becoming responsible for something far bigger than herself. It didn't happen overnight, but once it started, it moved faster than anyone could have imagined. By the time Britney Spears left Kentwood, she was no longer just a talented child. She was already working harder than most adults. Auditions, rejections, long hours, constant travel. It became her normal before she even had the chance to understand what normal really was. She came close early on. The Mickey Mouse Club audition, final rounds. Almost there, but not quite for most kids. That would have been the end. For Britney, it was just the beginning. New York came next. A tiny apartment, long rehearsals, Nights on stage, she was still just a kid, but the schedule didn't care. It was demanding, repetitive, exhausting. And for the first time, the excitement started to mix with something else, fatigue. Even then, she kept going. Because quitting was never really an option. When she finally made it onto the Mickey Mouse Club, it looked like a dream come true, performing alongside names like Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera, and Ryan Gosling. She was surrounded by talent, energy, and opportunity. But behind the scenes, it was still work. Long hours, structured days, adult-level expectations placed on children. And when the show ended, everything went quiet again. For a brief moment, Britney returned home and tasted something rare. A normal teenage life, school, friends, a glimpse of what could have been. But it didn't last, because by then, the industry had already seen her, and it wasn't going to let her go. In 1997, everything changed. A demo, a flight to New York, a room full of record executives who almost said no because they weren't looking for a solo artist. They wanted groups, trends, formulas. But Britney had something they couldn't ignore. Not just a voice, not just a look, a presence. And when Jive Records finally said yes, the door didn't just open, it exploded. Baby One More Time wasn't just a debut single. It was a cultural moment. The sound, the image, the energy. It didn't just introduce Britney Spears to the world, it redefined pop music. Within months, she was everywhere. Television, awards, tours, magazine covers. Her name wasn't just known, it was unavoidable. A small-town girl had become a global icon. But with every stage she stepped onto, the expectations grew louder. Because now, she wasn't just performing anymore. She was representing something, an image, an idea. And the world was watching her every move. But what the world didn't realize was that the same system lifting her up was already starting to shape who she had to become. At first, the attention felt like love. The interviews, the cameras, the fans screaming her name. It all looked like admiration. But slowly, something changed. As Britney Spears grew up, the world didn't grow with her. It watched her. It judged her. And eventually, it began to dissect her. She was still a teenager when the questions started shifting. Not about her music, not about her talent, but about her body, her image, her purity. Interview after interview, she was asked things no young girl should ever have to answer on camera. Questions about her virginity, her chest, her clothes, whether she was a good role model or a bad influence. And somehow, it became normal. The same world that had fallen in love with her innocence now demanded something else. Something more provocative, more mature, more marketable. But when she gave them that, they punished her for it. Britney was trapped between two versions of herself. The good girl the world wanted to protect, and the grown woman they couldn't stop criticizing. There was no winning. Her relationship with Justin Timberlake only made things louder. Together, they were pop royalty, the perfect couple. The story everyone wanted to believe in, until it ended. And when it did, the narrative changed almost overnight. Justin spoke, the media listened. And suddenly, Britney wasn't the sweetheart anymore. She became the villain. Every move she made was analyzed, twisted, turned into headlines. Every performance became controversy. Every outfit became a debate. When she stood on stage at the VMAs, with a snake draped over her shoulders, it became one of the most iconic moments in pop culture. But to the media, it was something else, a scandal. When she kissed Madonna on live television, it wasn't seen as a performance. It was treated like a cultural shockwave. Politicians commented. Talk shows mocked her. Public figures crossed lines that should have never been crossed. And through it all, Britney kept showing up, smiling, performing, delivering. Because that's what was expected of her. But behind the scenes, something deeper was happening. This wasn't just fame anymore. It was pressure, constant, relentless pressure. To be perfect, to be desirable, to be innocent, but not too innocent. To be everything, all at once. And when a person is forced to live inside contradictions like that, something begins to crack. Because at some point, the question is no longer, can she handle the fame? It becomes, how much can one person take before they break? For years, Britney Spears had been told who to be, how to act, what to wear, what to say, and more importantly, what not to do. So when she finally started making her own choices, they didn't look polished. They didn't look calculated. They looked like freedom, messy, impulsive, and real. In 2004, something shifted. The image was cracking. The control was slipping. And for the first time, Britney wasn't asking for permission anymore. The Las Vegas wedding with Jason Alexander lasted just 55 hours. To the world, it was chaos, a mistake, something to laugh at. But underneath it, it felt like something else. A moment, a decision that wasn't approved, a life that wasn't scripted. And maybe, for the first time in a long time, it was hers. Then came Kevin Federline. Fast, intense, unfiltered. Their relationship moved quickly, and the world had opinions immediately. Headlines called her reckless, called him opportunistic, called the relationship doomed before it even began. But Britney didn't stop, because this time, she wasn't trying to be perfect. She was trying to feel something real. Marriage followed. Then something she had always wanted, but never truly had the space for, a family. When her first son, Sean Preston, was born, everything seemed to slow down. For a moment, the noise faded. The cameras felt farther away. She wasn't a pop icon in that moment. She was just a mother. And for the first time in her adult life, she looked like she was exactly where she wanted to be. But peace didn't last, because the cameras didn't leave. They got closer, more aggressive, more invasive. There were no boundaries. Not even for a newborn child. Every move she made as a mother was documented, judged, turned into headlines. One photo, one moment, one mistake, or even something misunderstood was enough to reshape the narrative. Is she a bad mom? That question spread faster than any song she had ever released. The incident with her baby in her lap, the fall outside with paparazzi surrounding her, the constant pressure of being watched while trying to protect her child. None of it was seen with context, only criticism, only noise. At the same time, her marriage was beginning to collapse. Kevin was pulling away. The stability she had tried to build was slipping through her hands. And now, she was pregnant again, trying to hold everything together while everything around her was falling apart. In 2006, she filed for divorce. And just like that, the last piece of control she thought she had, her family, her safe space, was gone. What the world saw was a celebrity making bad decisions. But what was really happening was something much deeper. Years of control, years of being watched, shaped, and judged. All catching up at once. Because when someone spends their entire life trying to live up to expectations they never chose, eventually, something. And for Britney Spears, that breaking point was closer than anyone realized. By the time the world thought it understood Britney Spears, it had already missed the most important part of her story. This wasn't just the rise and fall of a pop star. It was the story of a child who grew up too fast, a teenager who was shaped into an image, and a woman who spent years trying to take her life back, only to be judged every step of the way. From Kentwood to global fame. Everything about her journey looked extraordinary on the surface, but underneath it, nothing was ever truly normal. Not her childhood, not her success, not the way the world treated her when she tried to grow up. She was celebrated for being perfect, then criticized for being human. She was pushed to become a symbol, then punished for trying to become herself. And somewhere along the way, the line between Britney the person and Britney the product completely disappeared. The media played a role. The industry played a role. Even the people closest to her would eventually play a role. But at this point in her life, one thing was becoming painfully clear. Britney Spears was losing control of her own story, and the world was watching it happen in real time. Not with concern, not with protection, but with cameras, with headlines, with judgment. What came next wouldn't just change her life. It would expose something much darker about fame, power, and control in modern culture, because the years that followed would become some of the most disturbing, most public, and most misunderstood moments in celebrity history. And the question is, did the world fail Britney Spears? Or did it help create what she was about to become? If you've ever wondered what really happened behind the headlines, this is only the beginning.